Around the world, there's a growing sense that civility has been traded for a lesser form of discourse. We're not only disagreeing, but we are dividing. As leaders, it is our role to lead culture back to civility. At the forefront of this charge is Šola Ričardss, a workplace civility expert, a best-selling author, and the founder and CEO of Go Together Global. In this session, he'll explore the practical ways we lead ourselves and those around us. He'll focus on eliminating what weakens us, knowing the distinction between kind and nice, and becoming leaders that leave a wake of civility in our path. That's why the Global Leadership Summit is grateful to welcome Šola Ričardss.
Global Leadership Summit! Can I start with the question I need to ask? Do I have your permission to keep it real in this session? I do? Okay. I had no backup plan if you said no, so, there's that. I'm going to start with a real statement, really real. We are defined by how we treat each other. We are defined by how we treat each other. I learned this first leadership lesson from my mom. My mom is from the deep South, Natchez, Mississippi, and, from the South, okay? From the deep South, and she gave me a lesson that stuck with me. And she had a very lovely Southern accent. It's since faded, but I heard her voice when she gave me this lesson for the first time. She said, "Baby." That's how my mama talks. She's so cute. She said, "Baby, there's two types of people in this world, baby. The ones who make you feel good as soon as they walk into the room, and the ones who make you feel good as soon as they walk out of it." I'm like, Mama's right. Stop playing with me, Global Leadership Summit. You know it is true. So what's the difference? The difference is about civility. Civility is a demonstration of respect. And quite frankly, for leaders, it is the decision that the people who are following you have to make. Do they follow you because they choose to, or do they follow you because they have to? The opposite of this is incivility. Incivility are the low-level behaviors that make you lose faith in humanity. Rudeness, just awful, low-vibrational behaviors. And quite frankly, there's a cost to this. Two researchers out of Georgetown University, Christine Porath and Christine Pearson, did a study. And they found that people who deal with incivility at work, 25% of them take out their frustrations on their customers. 48% said that they intentionally decreased their effort, and 78% of them said that their commitment to the organization declined. We do not have the luxury to allow incivility to continue. And truth be told, leaders, if I can keep it real, what we allow is what will continue. In fact, keeping it real, I also have my own story of incivility and experiencing incivility. Over 15 years ago, I worked in a work environment that can only be described as soul-destroying. And I am not saying that for hyperbolic effect. It was an incredibly toxic workplace. Incivility, abuse, rudeness, harassment was the name of the game at this workplace. And despite my best efforts to address it and deal with it, I was completely ignored. And after dealing with this for about 18 months, I ended up falling into a very deep depression. And I'm not using that term euphemistically, like, I was super sad. I wasn't sad. I was clinically depressed. And one morning, while driving to this toxic job, I said out loud, "I'm done, man. I'm done. I'm done." And I wish I could tell you that I was saying that I was done with the job. Unfortunately, it was far darker than that. I made a decision while driving to this very toxic job that I was going to take my own life. Sorry. I still struggle with this story. Because I still, to be real, I have some shame around it still. And part of the reason why it's so hard to share this story is that I didn't just think about suicide. I actually attempted. I'm coming to you on the Global Leadership Summit stage as a suicide survivor. Thank you. Specifically, I live in Los Angeles, and while driving to this very toxic job, I attempted to drive my car off the overpass of the freeway in an attempt to make it look like an accident. And for reasons I'm not quite clear on, the guardrail held. I came back into incoming traffic, and I have spent the better part of the past 16 years perseverating on this very simple idea. We are defined by how we treat each other. Today, I want to prove that to you. I'm going to talk to you about three things: how to lead others with civility, how to lead self with civility, and how to leave a legacy of civility. Let's get to it. First things first, how to lead others with civility. There's an amazing quote by a man named Brennan Manning. He said, "In every encounter, you either give life or you drain it. There is no neutral exchange." I want you to think about that for a second. I think one of the issues in leadership is there's a lot of leaders who are not mindful of how their words and actions affect others. Could we get more mindful? Could we get more micro with this and think about every single interaction you're either giving life or you're draining it? That's a powerful way to see the world. And I want to give you something that's going to help you to remember that. If you choose to give life and lead with civility, what I'm going to ask you to do if you choose to lead others is you need to connect to your higher self when you come to work. Man, you got to connect to your higher self. You must. Hold on a second. So we're in a beautiful spiritual house, right? And I said, connect to your higher self. And you automatically probably thought that was a spiritual concept. Because like higher self, like, oh. Upper register's on point today. When I said your higher self, what you heard me say is your H-I-G-H-E-R self. That's not what I said. If you want to lead others with civility, you need to connect to your higher self, your H-I-R-E self. Or worded differently, do you remember the person who you said you were in your job interview? Do you remember the person who you had to be in order to get hired? That's the person who I need you to be. Your higher self. Think about this. Think about your interview. Now, globally, I don't know where you are hearing my voice right now, but if in your interview, most likely when you're interviewed to be a leader, you might have got a question like this. So, tell me about a time when you dealt with a challenging employee, challenging colleague, maybe even some incivility. How did you make this difficult situation work out for all parties involved? Now, I wasn't in your interview because that would be super weird, but I'd be willing to bet next month's mortgage payment that you did not say the following in response to that. Difficult colleague? Difficult employee? I ain't got time for that. No, you didn't. You tapped into your higher self, your H-I-R-E self, this magical person who has like the answer for everything. Right? Same question, totally different answer. You're like, wait a second, hold on. Difficult colleague? Incivility in the workplace? How would I deal with that? I'm so glad you asked. I'm so glad you asked. I find challenging people to be a gift. A gift. Because I can connect to that one nugget of commonality that connects them to me. So while they're acting rude and being difficult, know what I see? I see someone who's scared. Someone who needs my help. So if you hire me for this job, not only will I lead with civility, I will also make a point of joining the global leadership network so I can inspire and equip world-class leadership that ignites transformation. But all I need is a chance if you hire me. Did I get the job? Okay, thanks. Here's the thing though. You might be hearing this and like, okay, so I get it. This seems like a lot of nice, happy talk. Like, no, it's not. If you really think about what it means to be your higher self is the foundation of leading with civility. And quite frankly, when we think about this, we need a rule. Because our higher self is the best of who we are as humans, the best of who we are as professionals. So here's my rule. If you would never think of saying it in a job interview, then do not do it at work. Keeping it real. Now, this is not about nice talk, because the idea is like, oh, so I guess got to be nice, right? No. Being nice is simply being polite and agreeable. That's a super easy bar. Kindness is so much harder. Kindness is demonstrating that you care about someone through your actions. This isn't about kittens and unicorns. Kindness is what we need from our leaders. Niceness is not going to get it done. True kindness, that means difficult conversations, holding people accountable, standing up to bigotry and racism when you see it, giving love to someone who may be suicidal. This is what kindness is, and it's not easy. Because if it was easy, everyone would do it. You know what? If it sounds like I'm a little over the top about this kindness stuff, you'd be right. I am a kindness extremist. Yeah, I said it. You know what my nickname is globally, what people call me around the world? They call me Brother Teresa. I wasn't sure what to think of it at first, but I kind of dig it now. I'll tell you, when I've been doing my research on how to lead others with civility, what I found that was really interesting is that the thousands of people who I've talked to over the past 15, 16 years, they said to me, Shola, I just want my leader to value me. I want to feel valued. So I dug deeper in my research. And quite frankly, I wanted to find out what that meant. And there are 5 values of leading others with civility that I want to hit. The first one is you need to value their ideas. Now, not only is this super kind, it also makes really, really good business sense. The people who are closest to the work, closest to the patients in a hospital, closest to the students in a school, closest to the congregation, to the customers, to the clients, they have amazing ideas. And as a leader, to show that you value them, you should be asking them, how can we serve our people better? How can we serve them better? And you should be asking the people who are on the front lines of this work, what tools can I give you to ensure that you serve them better? Value their ideas. Secondly, value their roles. I do executive coaching, and I was on a consulting gig, and I was working with this executive who liked to make fun of the janitorial staff. I'm not quite sure what he was doing, but he would always say things in meetings like, oh man, well, hey, at least I'm not the one who cleans the toilets around here. Then someone would say something in a meeting, whoa, come on, give me a break. I'm not like I clean the toilets around here. After doing this a few times, I just got super irritated. One of the challenges of consulting is sometimes you can't let what's going on in here show here, right? But I'm really bad at that. So I had to ask him a question, and it was a question that he couldn't answer. I said, okay, enough about this janitor stuff. Can I ask you a question? Do you normally hire people who you perceive to be insignificant to do work that doesn't matter? Because if you do, you have no business leading anybody. The reality is we all play a role, and having gradations of value make no sense. Is the shortstop more important than the left fielder? Is the person who plays the trombone more important than the person who plays the flute? Is your right eye more important than your left foot? No, we all play a role. And it's important to value that. Remember, civility is about a demonstration of respect. The third is value their time. If you have one-on-one meetings with your staff, this is that sacred moment where you get an opportunity to really sit with a person and engage with them. Time is so beautiful because time cannot be recovered once it's lost. It can't be borrowed. It can only be spent. And so I challenge you, if you want to demonstrate respect, start and end your one-on-one meetings on time. I mean, can we be real? So many leaders just show up, oh, I'm here now, so let's get started. It's like, well, I've been sitting here for 15 minutes. Can you give me a text or something? Let me know. It's very interesting. This is a very important thing, and it's super practical and super easy. Also, too, in the in-between time, when it starts and ends, during the meeting, can you put your phone away? Can you put your phone away and just focus on this person and give them that demonstration of respect? It means something. And this may sound really crazy, but I think all of us, or many of us in this room, can remember a time when there were not cell phones. We did okay. We're still here. Let's give that demonstration of respect. Fourth, respect and make sure to value their skills. The highest honor you can give to another human being is to say, I trust you. The highest honor. People think, no, Šola, it's not. It's saying, I love you. It's like, no, it's not. It's not. Listen, I love, y'all. I love, but it's not trust. I'll prove it to you. I guarantee you there's someone hearing my voice who loves someone who they do not trust. You said I could keep it real. That's real. So let's talk about how we can give our people that feeling of trust. Give them that space to do their best work. Give them and value their skills, knowing they're bringing it to the table, taking highly skilled people and micromanaging them and forcing, you've got to put my name on the CC line to make sure you're saying everything correct in an email. They're going to leave, which is a problem. And last, value their humanity. This is a big one. The people who told me what they wanted from their leaders, they wanted personal connection. They were like, say hello, know my name, recognize the great work they were doing, and in this season of time, give them grace. This is a hard period of time, and some people may be behaving in a way that's not that great. If you have been there and you're working with someone who's challenged and not behaving in the best way, let me give you this. And this is something worth writing down. This may change how you lead forever. This is a huge setup, so let's see how it goes. Whenever you see bad behavior, I want you to remember this. All bad behavior it's an unskilled expression of an unmet need. I will say this again. All bad behavior it's an unskilled expression of an unmet need. The reality is we are defined by how we treat each other, and it starts by valuing our people. Next, I would love the honor to talk to you about how we can lead ourselves. And I got this lesson, powerful lesson from my dad. My dad is from Sierra Leone, West Africa. Have you ever heard of it before? Woo! All right. Side note, how cool would it be if someone from Sierra Leone right now is watching this? How cool would that be? Talk about global reach, y'all. That would be insane. I would love that. For those of you who are geographically challenged, I'll help you. Have you ever watched the Disney movie, The Lion King, before? Great movie. My dad is Mufasa. Okay? Which makes me Simba. I'll be king one day. Oh, man, it's hard when you get to this point because I recently lost my dad to a really, really valiant battle with cancer. And I know he's watching right now, which, Dad, your baby boy made it on the Global Leadership Summit stage, man. I'm here, Dad. I did it. And, it's funny because my mom and dad are just the best example of human love I've ever seen. They met on Valentine's Day, and they're from totally different ends of the earth, Mississippi, Africa, but they found love. My dad gave me a lesson about leading self that I want to share with you. And shortly after I attempted suicide, my dad pulled me aside. We had a conversation. Now, he did not know that I attempted because I didn't tell anyone for 11 years. But he knew I was depressed. And my dad pulled me aside in a voice I can do pretty well by now. He said, "Šola." That's how my dad, it's true. A lot of accents in the Richardss household. "Šola, I need you to be the buffalo, not the cow." Okay, Dad, I'm struggling. You're gonna give me African riddles? I don't have time for this, man. No time. "Šola, listen to me, boy. When a storm comes, boy, what the cow does instinctively is it turns away from the storm, boy, and it tries to outrun the storm, but all it does is prolong its time in the storm and prolong its suffering. Foolish cow. But the buffalo boy, he turns into the storm, knowing discomfort is waiting for him. And is it hard? Yes, boy. Is it difficult? Yes, boy. But two things happen because he persists. One, his time in the storm is shortened. And secondly, because he did what was hard, he has been made better by the experience. Be the buffalo, my son, not the cow, and lead self through the storm. I was like, Dad, I feel you. Oh my gosh, thank you, Dad. That lesson was so important to me. The reality is, the difference between where you are and where you could be, right, is the amount of pain you are willing to endure. Craig Rochelle, August 5th, 2021. See? You should be listening to all the sessions. I am. I'll tell you, one of the things that's really important too is leadership is really hard, as you know, and we have to lead self. One of the things that we need to do is be aware of the words that weaken us. Leadership is hard enough without self-sabotage. We don't have to make this harder than it needs to be. The reality is, there are thoughts that weaken us. And people tell me, oh my gosh, Joel, I don't want to think about this stuff. I don't want to think about this stuff. I don't want to think about this stuff. I've got bad news for you. I don't want to deal with it. You already are dealing with it. And if you don't believe me, ask your significant other, if you have one. Ask your kids. Ask the people who you're trusted to lead. We have to look at this. And truth be told, the one that really hits me a lot is, I'm not good enough. And I struggle with this. I know it was mentioned earlier about this concept of the imposter syndrome. I don't know if anyone can relate. But the imposter syndrome is basically going around all day thinking thoughts like this. Oh my gosh, it's another day where no one found out that I don't know anything around here. It's horrifying. So what I'm going to challenge you to do is to realize that if we are constantly loading ourselves up with thoughts that don't serve us, can we really make a decision today to change it? Can we make this commitment? Because you can't give to others what you don't have. If you're not going to be kind and civil to yourself, you're not going to give it to anyone else, because you can't. It's impossible. So I'm going to challenge everyone who hears me to create, if you're choosing to lead others, you need what I call a self-civility statement. Here's mine, because I struggle a lot with a lot of different thoughts. If this resonates with you, keep it. When I'm struggling and I'm struggling to lead others, I say this out loud: I belong in any room that I walk into. Any room. Now, I'm so trained to do this, because self-doubt comes in quite a bit, that literally whenever I enter a room, I say, I belong when I walk in. I did it backstage. I was just in the restroom, and I walked into the restroom in Willow Creek. I said, I belong. There's a guy in the stall. He's like, okay, dude. I was like, oh, I didn't know if anyone was in here. But the idea is, have your statement that you can lean on when things get hard. It is a critical part of this game. Also, leading self means that we need to demonstrate civility through our actions. Take a look on the screen beside me. There are some decisions on here, some choices. And if we're going to be real, since I'm into reciprocity, if I'm going to be real, you should be too. There's probably something on this list next to me that you know you need to do. Okay? What you're seeing on the screen, these are decisions. That's what they are, decisions. And as the quote goes, you were born looking like your daddy, but you die looking like your decisions. What decisions are you going to make? You know, when I think about the choices, when I think about everything that's on the screen, I often think about asking for help. Leaders don't always do that. Or also, removing yourself from toxic relationships. I don't know if anyone in this room or anyone listening to the sound of my voice has ever been in a relationship too long, professional or otherwise. My challenge to you is that if you're in a toxic relationship, regardless of what it is, even if it's a family member, this is so important. I'm going to talk into the microphone for this, if that's okay. I really need you to hear this, and I don't know if this microphone's loud enough, so I brought one. I need you to hear this, and I'll tell you, if this resonates with you, you need to do it instantly. Some people in your life need to be loved from a distance. I just achieved my lifelong dream of dropping a mic on stage. All right, here's the deal. We are truly defined by how we treat others, and it starts with how we treat ourselves. I'm not asking you to do everything on the list beside me, but choose one. Don't leave without choosing one thing that you're committing to doing going forward. And when I say commitment, this is what I mean. Commitment is doing what you said you were going to do long after the mood you said it in has left you. I will. Commitment is doing what you said you were going to do long after the mood you said it in has left you. That is commitment. And I'm going to leave and close with leaving a legacy of civility. If I could get all of your direct reports into a room globally, the one question I would ask is, if your leaders did not have their authority over you, would you still choose to follow them anyway? This question tells me everything I need to know about your ability to lead with civility. And quite frankly, this is your legacy. Your legacy isn't about titles, it's not about degrees, it's not about how many social media followers you have. Your legacy, our legacy, is defined by how we treat others. That is civility. And the coolest thing is when we talk about this, what legacy means. Think of the end of life. When someone passes away, someone transitions on. You're not sitting around the table reminiscing about this person and talking about like, oh my gosh, he had such a sweet car though. Or like, man, that degree, this guy got more degrees than a thermometer, man. It's amazing. So educated. No, you're not doing that. What you're doing instead is you're talking and you remember how they treated you. Maya Angelou said it best. We will forget what people did, we'll forget what people said, but we'll never forget how you made them feel. Never. So when we talk about legacy, you don't have to wait until you die to leave a legacy. You don't have to wait until you retire to leave a legacy. You get to leave a legacy, as my mama so wisely said, every time you enter or leave a room. And the cool thing is, your choice in this moment to lead with civility could be the difference between healing and pain, hope and despair, peace and sadness, and sadly, as I know all too well, potentially life and death. Lead with civility, leaders. The world needs it more than ever, and your decision to do so will be your legacy. Thank you.